Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So this particular case study is based on what's going on in my city in the borough of Brooklyn. There is a building located at 770 Eastern Parkway, which is a synagogue that has significant historical attributes to it from those who are in the Shabbat movement. It's a Hasidic Jew belongs to that particular sect, if you will. People from all over the world come and visit this particular synagogue. Now, what many of you may have seen in social media, I'm going to just give some clarification because what they posted wasn't that clear. And to be honest, there's still more investigation going on. But what happened was there was a group of people that was congregating outside of the particular synagogue, and some people in the neighborhood didn't understand what was happening. They called the police. The police came down. In addition, there was the leaders of that particular synagogue saw that the walls needed to be repaired, and I guess they contacted the landlord, and the landlord sent a cement truck to try to do some repairs. And I believe this group was probably trying to stop it from happening, because some of the people in that particular group, they had dug tunnels connecting that synagogue to the women's synagogue. And it also connected to 4 other buildings, and I don't believe those 4 other buildings are even part of the synagogue. They were just regular apartment buildings. Apparently, there was some empty space behind it. They said that in the space, it was really, even from what I could see, it was mainly dirt and tools and debris. But I did see where they pulled out a dirty mattress, and one particular person pointing out a baby high chair being in there. Now, there was a lot of rumors swirling around. I'm not going to go into the rumors. I only wanted to go and talk about the facts. Okay. So anyway, needless to say, they discovered that there was a tunnel. Now, for those of you in the city, most of you know that Brooklyn already has tunnels, and many of those tunnels are former subway tracks. So it's possible, especially when I heard the length and the depth, because I heard that they were 60 feet by 8 feet wide. I'm thinking some of those tunnels were probably already there, but the men made it longer and wider than it needed to be. Now, that part is a little bit of fact and opinion, but I know for a fact that yes, there are a lot of underground tunnels already in Brooklyn. However, the news reports say, on the contrary of my thoughts, they are saying that no, these men actually built those tunnels from scratch. They did not have any approval or permit to do so. Basically what it is they said that one of the former rabbis that was there had mentioned that the place was too small and it needed to be expanded. And many of the members who attend there and those who visit from other countries and students who go to the yeshiva nearby, they were all in agreement. And you can see, if you look at the pictures, that there is a lot of people in that particular space. So I can understand them saying that it is too small, but I do have a problem with expanding a building without having proper permit, especially building a tunnel from that building to connect to other buildings. Okay, because typically you don't get to make any type of manipulation to a building without, number one, the landlord's approval. And the landlord normally cannot make those type of adjustments without getting approval from the city. So this is not only a building code violation, there's also, in many respects, a city code violation as well. So what I understand now is that the Department of Buildings in New York City, they have issued a for them to, for not just that building, but for several of the buildings, they have to vacate. And they've also issued emergency work orders so that this is repaired. Now, the leaders of the synagogue, they did not agree to this. This was something that the younger members of the synagogue did on their own without the knowledge of the leaders. And the leaders tried to, fix and repair this. So I feel bad for the leaders, and I really feel bad for the landlord, because they're taking that expense the heaviest. And I hope the synagogue, I think they should pay, even though the leaders did not encourage or tell, they may have wanted the expansion, but they did not tell those young people to do those things. They should definitely offer money, because the landlord can now turn around and sue the synagogue, number one, and number two, they can evict them out of the premises. The other thing that also struck me was the fact that the synagogue did not own the building, because normally, not always, but many people today, and even let's go back even 20 years from today, many of the churches, synagogues, mosques, whatever, they made sure to own the buildings that they occupied, that they worshiped in, because of all of the transitions that New York City was going through. So I'm a little bit shocked, to be honest with you, that they didn't even take it upon themselves to say, you know what, let us buy this building, or let us move to another building and own that particular building, So that was also something that I was like, this is interesting. This is very interesting. Okay. So yes, many of the men who dug the tunnel and who were trying to block the cement truck from doing the job that they were paid to do, etc., they were arrested on charges of criminal mischief, reckless endangerment, obstructing governmental administration, according to the police. And another 3 of them were also summoned for disorderly conduct. Okay, so that's where everything stands at this particular moment, place, in time. But yes, this is really really something else. And since they mentioned that some of the people were not Americans that were responsible for digging that tunnel, I'm not sure if they're going to keep those particular individuals in America. I'm not sure how that process works. If they're not citizens, it doesn't even appear as though some of them were even permanent residents. They probably will get deported back. And then also, as a landlord, even if, because, this particular synagogue, from my understanding, they've been there for many years. So this is something that pretty much just happened recently, meaning it happened, as far as the tunnel being dug, it happened last year. That's when it started, or it may have even started before then, like in 2022. And then being that it wasn't the older people and being that it wasn't the ones that are American, they might not evict them, even though they can and they have the right to. But they also, as an alternative, if the relationship is good, they may say those particular individuals are not allowed back into the building, meaning they can get issued they can they can go to the police and just have it set up where, even if they stay in the country, whatever, you can set it up where they cannot come in. And if those particular individuals come in, it would be considered trespassing. But I really feel for these landlords, as I am a landlord myself. I would not want something like that to happen to me. And not only that, landlord, remember, there are 4 other buildings involved, and I don't think that landlord owns all 4 buildings. So that means that the landlords of the other building can, guess what? Can go ahead and sue that landlord that has the synagogue in it. Those other 3 landlords, or 4 landlords, sorry, because it's 4 buildings, they can also go to the police and have, I forgot the proper name, to prevent people from entering your premises, keeping them at bay, like a particular distance from you. They can also have that issued against all of the men that were arrested, and possibly even some of those who may have not been arrested, but for those against that were protesting, that were for the people who were doing this, because it affected their business. It affected their building, number one, and then all the tenants that live in their building are also being affected. Think about that for a second. You see what I mean? So listen, a lot of people, they tell you real estate is easy. Real estate is not that easy. It can be rewarding, but when things go right, but things don't always go right. And this is a perfect example of when things take a left turn. I just wish the best for everybody that is involved in this particular situation, from the tenants, the innocent tenants in the other buildings, the landlords of the other buildings, the landlord of the synagogue, the leaders of the synagogue, and then all the other members of the synagogue. And to be honest, I do feel for the members who may have been for it, who are for the expansion, but definitely wasn't necessarily for what those individual men did. They really put themselves and everyone else in danger. And I want to relate this back to the whole TB Joshua situation out in Africa. Those of you who know, that building collapsed, killing 151 people. Because again, they built floors on top of the building without getting a permit from the Nigerian government. So guys, whenever you're doing any type of construction, any kind of flip, any type of anything, make sure you get those permits. A lot of you are doing a lot of things when you're manipulating plumbing, when you're manipulating electricity, adding on floors, adding on rooms, etc., etc. You gotta get that permit. Stop trying to do all of these things without the city knowing, because your health and your safety and the safety of other people around it, they depend on it. Okay? They do. They really do. And I'm not all that crazy. I know sometimes people will pay off city inspectors and do all kind of underhanded things. But when people do that, again, that puts everyone's health at risk. It really does. Oh, and then the other thing too that I learned is when you're doing a fix flip gut rehab, because you know I had to do it, they say that it's best not to put it in your name. It's best to put it under the contractor's name, so that if anything does go wrong in the future, it doesn't go back to you. Because if something happens to someone, if someone loses their life and your name is on it, on that permit, then they're gonna come and sue you as opposed to suing the actual contractor. So I wanted to just let you guys be aware of that. And that's it. That's all I have. So I hope you learned from this particular situation. Learn from other people's mistakes. Don't just learn from your own. That's why I do these case studies. Okay? All right. So feel free to share this amongst your friends. Remember, sharing is caring. All right. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.